Hey K-popers, and welcome back to Hallyu. Today we're talking about a group whose music I've always just loved, but whose story has also made me so frustrated over the years, that being the MBK or Pocket Doll Studio girl group, Daya. We'll start by seeing how right from day one MBK was screwing things up, and then see how despite that Daya really found their place among girl groups. Next we'll talk about how MBK just could not stop being horrible at their jobs, and look back on the frustrating story of how much more Daya could have been. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank Hallyu's honorary producers. If you want to show off your bias group here, share your pics in weekly videos, and join a vibrant Discord community with watch parties, custom emoji, and more, all you need to do is support Hallyu on Patreon. So it's kind of funny talking about Daya because often when I dive into the story of a certain group, we usually see a bigger theme or arc that develops over time. But with Daya, one of the common threads throughout their time as a group has been mismanagement by their label MBK, and it was obvious right from before the girls even debuted. So let me explain. In February of 2015, MBK announced that they were going to be debuting a new girl group and they planned to have candidates compete on a reality survival program to create that group's roster. On the 10th of that month, they revealed Kim and Danny as one of the contestants and said that the show would be called Tiara's little sister girl group, since of course MBK are the label for the incredibly popular girl group Tiara. Now fast forward 4 months to June 2015, and MBK announces that they're scrapping the survival show altogether, instead opting to choose the group's members internally. Not too long after, the label revealed these 6 members who would be debuting in August: Eunice, Hui-hyun, who at the time was known as Kathy, Jenny, Yebin, Eunjin, and Chaeyeon. But even still, those plans changed again. The debut was delayed a month and a 7th member, Seung-hee, was added to the group's debut. So finally, the group officially debuted with the name Daya on September 14th, 2015. Now the name Daya has 2 meanings. It's an acronym for Do It Amazing, as well as short for the word diamond. And as I mentioned, Daya debuted in September with a self-titled EP and the song Somehow. I actually really like this debut song, and I thought the MV was a really different approach for a debut that I found really refreshing. Plus the girls are wearing hockey jerseys, so as a Canadian that earns me some bonus points as well. Commercially, this album actually charted pretty well, just barely missing out on a top 10 peak on Gaon, and a month later Daya would release a follow-up single called My Friend's Boyfriend. This song is just ridiculously cute and really natural, and it has some really hilarious parts too, like this scene with Chaeyeon dancing. And here's a fun little piece of trivia for those of you who know me from Kville Entertainment. When this song came out, I was obsessed with it, and as such I made it my mission to support this song as much as I possibly could. So what that translated to was on our staff chart for the January 2016 Week 3 chart, Daya gracefully bowed out at number 11 after a full 12-week run on the chart thanks to yours truly. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, MBK's poor management is a big factor in Daya's journey, and it manifested itself in the form of frequent roster shakeups. In March of 2016, we got that first change, as Chaewon, now known as Eunchae, joined Daya, bringing the group to 8 members. However, just a month later, MBK announced that Seung-hee had left the group, bringing them right back down to 7 members. And yet despite that going on behind the scenes, they dropped a great first comeback with the EP Happy Ending and its lead single On the Road. In this early era, Daya were so good at portraying that girl next door girlfriend image, and in that sense On the Road was very well executed. The bright pastel colors, the gorgeous outdoor settings, and simple outfits really brought the concept home and earned them quadruple the sales compared to their debut. And this leads us into my favorite Daya song, which I am unapologetically proud of, that being Mr. Potter. As the name suggests, this MV is inspired by the one and only Harry Potter, with magical trains, a castle in the background of some scenes, wands, and of course flying broomsticks. But this song is so catchy too, and the suspender choreo is so simple yet so effective. With another big jump in sales, Daya was starting to really pick up some momentum, and the group expanded their activities accordingly. For the next comeback, they would drop a pre-release single called You Are My Flower, which featured 2 trot singers, and they also kicked off a reality show, for real this time. This show aired on the channel On Style, and it was also timed to coincide with another lineup change. Yes, seriously, another one already. 2 new members were announced for the group, those being Juwon and Som-yi. So leading into their next album, the girls were now 9 members strong, and they dropped the EP YOLO and its title track Will You Go Out With Me. This release is a great example of a group playing into their strengths, because this song is the definition of a girl next door concept. Led by Chaeyeon's visuals and the acting in the MV, Daya were growing into a solid popular 3rd gen girl group, with YOLO reaching all the way up to number 3 on the albums chart. And this album actually had some pretty cool featuring artists including Dindin and Chungha. But it was their next album, Love Generation, that would make the biggest splash for the girl group. The album released on August 22nd, 2017, and it included the lead single Can't Stop. Do I even need to say it at this point? You can see from the MV for yourself. Dia were excellent at this concept and they stayed true to it here as well. Between this release and the repackage with the amazing song Good Night, Dia saw incredible success compared to where they came from. Love Generation sold over 15 times more copies than their debut. Now you're probably thinking it's been a hot minute since we had some MBK related controversy, but don't you worry. You see, Dia was supposed to have a comeback in April 2018, produced by the legendary Shinsadong Tiger. But on the day it was supposed to come out, MBK announced that it had been delayed to July 18th. And then to complicate matters, there was another lineup change. In May, Eunjin announced that she was leaving the group due to health problems. A month later, on June 9th, MBK confirmed the comeback to be coming for July 5th, but that did not happen either. Are you starting to get the frustration I have with MBK at this point? Anyways, that comeback would finally arrive on August 9th with the title track Ooh Ooh. This was a summer ball that definitely started a shift away from their typical concept, but without venturing too far away and while also nailing a summer concept. And the long wait would end up being so worth it, because on August 14th, Dia would claim their first ever music show win on the show by 34 points.
다이아 축하합니다. 너무 감사드리고요. 그리고 항상 저희 상을 받았어요, 저희가. 네, 우선
This was such a magical night for a group of girls that had done nothing but work hard and power through adversity. And yet the nonsense from MBK continued. Dia was planning a comeback to continue riding that huge wave of momentum that they had built up, including the music show win, targeting a November 7th release once again produced by Shinsadong Tiger. And yet it never came to pass. Finally, months later on February 20th, MBK confirmed the comeback was still coming soon, while also announcing that due to a knee injury, Jennie would be sitting out the comeback. This would actually be the final comeback announcement, and Dia released the EP Neutral and its lead single Ua. This was definitely a continuation of Ooh Ooh in the sense that the girls were shifting away from their previous image, and I thought they did a really good job. Interestingly enough, Ua also came out within 24 hours of Everglow's debut Bonbon Chocolat, and I think those two songs really complemented each other as releases. Unfortunately, after those promotions concluded, Jennie would officially leave the group due to her health concerns with her knee. Dia would return about a year later with the song Hug You, but the group actually only promoted as 5 members without Chaeyeon and Somi, and it has been very quiet since. On January 9th of this year, their label, now known as Pocket Doll Studio, confirmed that Somi had officially terminated her contract and left the group. And interestingly enough, she is now a broadcast jockey doing her own streams. So technically, Dia is still going as of right now with 6 members. Eunice, Juun, Huihyun, Yebin, Chaeyeon, and Eunchae, but I'm sure you'd agree that the past mismanagement of this group doesn't inspire confidence in their future activities. So like I said in the very first sentence of this video, Dia's story has had this unfortunate shadow hanging over it since before they even debuted, that of course being MBK and their horrendous incompetence. Dia are supremely talented and had a top tier visual in the form of Chaeyeon as well, who of course also had the boost of being an IOI. And these girls found their formula for success early on. They had that schoolgirl girlfriend vibe going on and they were excellent at it for several releases in a row. They proved that they had what it takes to build themselves up from just 2,000 in sales on their debut to over 37,000 for Love Generation. And yet they had one obstacle that was too difficult to overcome, their very own label. Dia has had 7 different lineups since debut, and as I mentioned, there were several times where MBK just completely dropped the ball on the most basic things, like releasing music when you say you're going to. There is definitely a question of whether their change in image and concept might have affected things too, but really I think that was just Dia keeping up with the times and the current trends in the 4th generation. Overall, it's a story that sadly we see with a lot of groups who reach varying levels of moderate success, one where the group itself is trying so hard to shine bright despite their label. Nevertheless, Dia is still technically around, so who knows, maybe MBK has one more big surprise in store for us in the future. Only time will tell. And that is the story of Dia. If you followed them from debut, I want to hear your thoughts on MBK's failures. Was I too harsh on them, or not harsh enough? As always, thank you so much for watching this deep dive, and stay tuned because there's lots more K-pop content coming your way right here at Hallyu. This has been deep dive number 98, Dia.